एतैरनिष्टपतिभिः मनोदुष्टमसत्पथं बुद्ध्या युञ्जीत शनकैर्जितप्राणो ह्यतन्द्रितः. By these processes or any other true process, one must control the contaminated, unbridled mind. Unbridled mind means unrestrained mind, which is always attracted by material enjoyment, and just fix himself in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Other processes include various vows, charity, and so on. Atibhihi, upayaihi, yunjita, dhyane yojayet. So somehow or other he should fix himself in meditation on the Supreme Lord. The general yoga process entails observing the rules and regulations, practicing the different sitting postures, concentrating the mind on the vital circulation of the air, and then thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Vaikuntha pastimes. This is the general process of yoga. It is said that this process was followed up to the time of Natha Muni in the Sri Vaishnava line. They would meditate, they actually sit and do this kind of meditation on the Lord's pastimes. And at some point, it was not transmitted. So that process was apparently lost. The same concentration can be achieved by other recommended processes, and therefore Anyaischa, other methods also can be applied. The essential point is that the mind which is contaminated by material attraction has to be bridled. Just like you bridle a horse. If you let a horse will go here and there wherever it wants. So it has to be tied. So like that, the mind has to be tied and concentrated on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It cannot be fixed on something void or impersonal. For this reason, so-called yoga practices of voidism and impersonalism are not recommended in any standard yoga shastra. The real yogi is a devotee because his mind is always concentrated on the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is the topmost yoga system. 8. Shuchau deshe pratisthapya vijitasana asanam tasmin swasti samasena richukaya samabhyasit. After controlling one's mind and sitting postures, one should spread his seat in a secluded and sanctified place. Sit there in an easy posture, keeping the body erect, and practice breath control. Asana adini vivrinoti. Now he elaborates on asana and other stages of Ashtanga Yoga. Asana. Kushajina chailottaram. Asana has to be made up of kusha grass. And there has to be a deer skin seat which is placed on top of it. Kushajina chailottaram. Okay. Tasmin swastika. Swasti eva syat evam asina. And it should be a comfortable seat. Swasti samasina. Yadva swastikasana upavishta ityartha. Otherwise, one should sit in the swastikasana. Swastikasana is defined here, but I don't understand it. So I'll leave it. Samabhya said pranam iti sheshaha. Then one should practice breath control. Sitting in, okay, here it comes. Sitting in an easy posture is called swasti samasina. It is recommended in the yoga scripture that one should put the soles of the feet between the two thighs and ankles and sit straight. Uru jangantaradhaya. Padagre janu madhya ge. Okay, correct. Right. This is the thing. That posture will help one concentrate his mind on the Supreme Personality of God. Yogino yadavasthanam swastikam tadvidur bhutah. This is the swastika asana. This very process is also recommended in Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter. It is further suggested that one sit in a secluded sanctified spot. The seat should consist of deer skin and kusha grass topped with cotton. Okay, that's a process here. 9. Pranasya shodhiyan margam. Pura kumbhaka rechikai. Pratikulena vachittam yathastiram achanchalam. The yogi should clear the passage of vital air by breathing in the following manner. First, he should inhale very deeply, then hold the breath in and finally exhale. Or reversing the process, the yogi can first exhale, then hold the breath outside and finally inhale. This is done so that the mind may become steady and free from external disturbances. Bhakyavayoho antarvamaya nasaya praveshanam purakaha. Through the left nostril, having the air enter is puraka. Praveshitasya dharanam kumbhakaha. Kumbhaka is holding the breath inside. Dakshinaya nasaya rechanam rechakaha. And then exhaling the air through the right nostril, that is rechaka. Pratikulena rechaka kumbhaka purakaihi astiram apichittam yatha chanchalam yatha achanchalam syat. Then the reverse can also be done through Rechaka Kumbhaka and Puraka instead of Puraka Kumbhaka Rechaka. Astiramapi Chittam Yatha Achanchalam Syat. It should be done in such a manner that the Chitta, which is unsteady, is made steady. These breathing exercises are performed to control the mind and fix it on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Savaimanah Krishna Padaravindayo, the devotee Ambarish Maharaj fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours a day. The process of Krishna consciousness is to chant Hare Krishna and to hear the sound attentively so that the mind is fixed upon the transcendental vibration of Krishna's name, which is non-different from Krishna, the personality. The real purpose of controlling the mind by the prescribed method of clearing the passage of the life air is achieved immediately if one fixes his mind directly on the lotus feet of Krishna. The Hatha Yoga system or breathing system is especially recommended for those who are very absorbed in the concept of bodily existence. But one who can perform the simple process of chanting Hare Krishna can fix the mind more easily. 3 different activities are recommended for clearing the passage of breath. Puraka, Kumbhaka and Rechaka. Inhaling the breath is called Puraka. Sustaining it within is called Kumbhaka. And finally exhaling it is called Rechaka. These recommended processes can also be performed in the reverse order. After exhaling, one can keep the air outside for some time and then inhale. The nerves through which inhalation and exhalation are conducted are technically called Ida and Pingala. This is all from Bhavartha Deepika. Ida, Uriya. The ultimate purpose of clearing the Ida and Pingala passages is to divert the mind from material enjoyment. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one's mind is his enemy and one's mind is also his friend. Its position varies according to the different dealings of the living entity. If we divert our mind to the thoughts of material enjoyment, then our mind becomes an enemy. And if we concentrate our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, then our mind is a friend. By the yoga system of Puraka, Kumbhaka and Rechaka, or by directly fixing the mind on the sound vibration of Krishna, or on the form of Krishna, the same purpose is achieved. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that one must practice the breathing exercise, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. By virtue of these processes of control, the mind cannot wander to external thoughts. Chetasa Nanyagamina. Thus, one can fix his mind constantly on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and can attain Him. Yati, can attain Yati, Him. Practicing the yoga system of exercise and breath control is very difficult for a person in this age, and therefore Lord Chaitanya recommended Kirtaniya Sada Harihi. One should always chant the holy name of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Always. Because Krishna is the most suitable name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The name Krishna and the Supreme Person Krishna are non-different. Therefore, if one concentrates his mind on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, the same result is achieved. Hare refers to Radharani, the internal potency, the internal and inseparable potency of Lord Krishna. Rama is also another name of Krishna. So, both Hare Krishna and Hare Rama refer to Radha Krishna. Okay, here is a question.
Prabhu, in this purport it is mentioned this process is for those who are more entered into bodily conception. So generally, those who are not spiritually practicing, they are actually the bodily conception only living. No, that means it is for everyone.
No, but Bhakti Yoga is meant for, in the 11th canto it will come. Karma Yoga is for those who are too attached. Jnana Yoga is for those who are too detached. And Bhakti Yoga is meant for those who are neither too attached nor too detached. Now, our problem is that we confuse Krishna consciousness with Bhakti Yoga. Karma Yoga is also Krishna consciousness. Jnana Yoga is also Krishna consciousness. Bhakti Yoga is also Krishna consciousness. But they are all different stages of Krishna consciousness. So, Hatha Yoga also involves remembering Lord Vishnu, that we see from this very chapter of Bhagavatam. This system of breathing, Ashtanga Yoga. This is also Krishna consciousness. But the one which involves chanting Hare Krishna, this chanting Hare Krishna is not simply chanting X number of rounds, it's constant chanting. So this constant chanting and all cannot be done by those who are very much absorbed in the concept of bodily existence. Therefore, all these preliminaries are given through Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means that one's remembrance of Lord Vishnu is uninterrupted like the uninterrupted flow of oil. So Bhakti Yoga is a very exalted state of Krishna consciousness. Most of us are not on the platform of Bhakti Yoga, even though we may be executing Krishna consciousness. But another way of consideration is in terms of what you're aiming at. If you're aiming at Bhagavan realization and you're aiming to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, then even though you're at a lower status, you're still considered to be in Bhakti Yoga. So this is another way of referring to persons. So even if somebody is on the platform of Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, if he's aiming at Bhakti Yoga and he's aiming to come to the point of pure Bhakti Yoga, then that person is considered to be a devotee. So Hatha Yoga is for those who are not interested, who are in the bodily concept of life and who are not very serious about becoming pure devotees of Lord Vishnu. Okay?
Yes, bro. So directly, if one is practicing karma yoga, then he will directly he can enter then Krishna Bhakti yoga after karma yoga directly, or he has to go to the stages.
I told you, there are different options. From Bhakti Mishra Karma, Karma Yoga is nothing but Bhakti Mishra Karma. From Bhakti Mishra Karma, one can progress to Bhakti Mishra Jnana and then progress. Bhakti Mishra Jnana is the same as Jnana Yoga. Then from Bhakti Mishra Jnana, one can progress to Bhakti Mishra Yoga. That Bhakti Mishra Yoga is this Ashtanga Yoga that is coming in this chapter. Then one can progress to Yoga Mishra Bhakti. This is Bhakti Yoga actually, but with a tinge of Ashtanga Yoga. And then come to Kevala Bhakti, which is pure Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, from Bhakti Mishra Karma, one can progress to Bhakti Mishra Jnana and then progress to Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Jnana Mishra Bhakti is Bhakti Yoga with a tinge of Jnana. And then come to Kevala Bhakti, which is pure Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, one can progress from Bhakti Mishra Karma to Karma Mishra Bhakti. Karma Mishra Bhakti is Bhakti Yoga with a tinge of Karma. And then progress to Kevala Bhakti, which is pure Bhakti Yoga. So these options are there. But why these options are spelled out in this manner is because you cannot come to the point of Bhakti Mishra Yoga from day one. Before that, you have to come to the point of Bhakti Mishra Jnana. And before that, you have to have executed Bhakti Mishra Karma. Okay?
Okay, bro.
Fine. 10. मनोचिरात् स्याद् विरजं जितश्वासस्य योगिनः वायुअग्निभ्यां यथा लोहं धमातं त्यजति वैमलम्. The yogis who practice such breathing exercises are very soon freed from all mental disturbances, just as gold, when put into fire and fanned with air, becomes free from all impurities. Lauham, Swarnam. Here the word. Why do I have Lauham? It must be Loham. Okay, wait, let me see. Saraswati Thakur's edition. This is text number 10. I have Lauham here. Lauham here. But Lauha is same as Loham. Suvarnam becomes here. Swarnam. It's the same as Swarnam. Dhvatam Santaptam. Fan. Burned. This process of purifying the mind is also recommended by Lord Chaitanya. He says that one should chant Hare Krishna. See, the whole idea when you say chant and all, that's a process. Just like when we talk about cooking, cooking means there's a process. You cannot simply say that, I put some rice in a pot and there has to be fire beneath it. Well, there has to be fire beneath it means I cannot put this rice in a pot of water and put it above near the ceiling and keep the fire far below and then expect that the cooking will happen. It will not work like that. It's a method how it has to happen. Similarly, chanting has to be executed according to certain terms and conditions. When all of those terms and conditions are observed, then we find the result of chanting coming out. Cheto Darpana Marjanam will happen. We'll see that with our own eyes in this very life. Over the years, over the decades, it should happen. If it doesn't happen, means we are committing a blunder. This process of purifying the mind is also recommended by Lord Chaitanya. He says that one should chant Hare Krishna. He says further, Param Vijayate, all glories to Shri Krishna Sankirtana. All glories are given to the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, because as soon as one begins this process of chanting, the mind becomes purified. Cheto Darpanam Arjanam. By chanting the holy name of Krishna, one is cleansed of the dirt that accumulates in the mind. One can purify the mind either by the breathing process or by the chanting process, just as one can purify gold by putting it in a fire and fanning it with the bellows. 11. Pranayamay dahed doshan dharanabhischa kilbishan pratyaharena samsargan dhyanena ishvaran gunan. By practicing the process of pranayama, one can eradicate the contamination of his physiological condition. And by concentrating the mind, one can become free from all sinful activities. By restraining the senses, one can free himself from material association. And by meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become free from the three modes of material attachment. Etesham karyani aha. The effects of each of these processes are spelled out here. Pranayamaihi iti doshan vatashkleshma adin kilbishan. Okay. Pranayamai dahed doshan. One can eradicate contaminations by practice of pranayama. By practicing the process of pranayama, one can eradicate the contamination of his physiological condition. Health disorders due to vata, shleshma, and so on. Dharanabhishcha kilbishan. Through dharana, by concentrating the mind, sinful activities can be removed. By concentrating the mind, one can become free from all sinful activities. Kilbishani papani. It means sinful reactions. One can become free from sinful reactions. Of course, concentrating the mind means concentrating the mind on Krishna. Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes. Bhagavatam has no concept of concentrating the mind on anything other than the names, forms, qualities, pastimes of Lord Krishna or his plenary expansions. Vishnu Tattva expansions. Then Samsargan, Vishaya Sangan. Samsargan means material association. That means attachment to sense objects. Pratyaharena Samsargan. Through so dharana, so pranayama burns up. The het literally means burning. It can burn up. So one should burn up the contaminations of his body. One should burn up his health issues through pranayama. One should burn up his sinful reactions through dharana. One should burn up his material association or his attachment to sense objects through pratyahara. And one should burn up anishwaran, gunan, ragadveshadin. One should become free from the effects of the three modes of material attachment through dhyana, through meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to the Ayurvedic medical science, the three items Kapha, Pitta and Vayu, phlegm, bile and air, maintain the physiological condition of the body. Modern medical science does not accept this physiological analysis as valid, but the ancient Ayurvedic process of treatment is based upon these items. Ayurvedic treatment concerns itself with the cause of these three elements, which are mentioned in many places in the Bhagavatam as the basic conditions of the body. Here it is recommended that by practicing the breathing process of pranayama, one can be released from contamination created by the principal physiological elements. By concentrating the mind, one can become free from sinful activities. And by withdrawing the senses, one can free himself from material association. Ultimately, one has to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to be elevated to the transcendental position, where he is no longer affected by the three modes of material nature. It is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that one who engages himself in unalloyed devotional service at once becomes transcendental to the three modes of material nature, immediately realizes his identification with Brahman, Sagunan, Samati Kyaitan, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. For every item in the yoga system, there's a parallel activity in Bhakti Yoga, but the practice of Bhakti Yoga is easier for this age. What was introduced by Lord Chaitanya is not a new interpretation. Bhakti Yoga is a feasible process that begins with chanting and hearing. So it is a feasible process, provided you accept all the steps of Bhakti Yoga. Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva, Shraddha, Guru Padashraya, Bhajaneshu Spriha, and so on. There are stages. So one should agree to progress through the stages. In that way, it is actually a feasible process. But if one says, no, I will not serve those exalted souls or carry out their instructions, Mahat Seva I will not do, and so on, and he does not develop faith, then at each step, he is the one who is creating problems. Bhakti Yoga and other yogas have as their ultimate goal the same personality of Godhead, but one is practical and the others are difficult. One has to purify his physiological condition by concentration and the restraint of the senses, then he can fix his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is called Samadhi. Yeah. Question.
So where dharana is by concentrating mind, one becomes free from sinful acts, and at last dhyan, at last means again the similar thing is there to concentrate, meditate on the personality of Godhead, then he is freed from modes. So what is the difference between this concentrating mind and meditating on Lord?
There is some difference. I do not know about the details of the yoga system as of now. But I do know there is a difference. Dharana, then dhyana, then samadhi. It is one step before dhyana. I think that dharana is interrupted and dhyana is uninterrupted. Dhyana is uninterrupted, but with effort, and samadhi is not like that. Samadhi is supposed to be without effort. There is some distinction like that. Comes in Yoga Sutra, comes in many places also.
Okay.
12. Yada manasvam virajam yogena susamahitam kashtham bhagavato dhyaye swanasagravalokanaha. When the mind is perfectly purified by this practice of yoga, one should concentrate on the tip of the nose with half closed eyes and see the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yogena yama adina samahitam sthiram. So when the mind has become by itself steady and well controlled due to yoga practice and purified, Ashtam Utkrishta Swarupam, then one should meditate on the most exalted form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Laya Vikshepa Pariharaya Svanasagra Darshi. In order to ensure that he does not fall asleep or become distracted, there is a rule that he should look at the tip of his nose. It is clearly mentioned here that one has to meditate upon the expansion of Vishnu. Kashtha, which Sridhar Swami has interpreted as Kalam. Jiva Goswami has interpreted Kashtham as the ultimate feature. Utkrishta Swarupam. That is also Sarartha Darshini's version. But Kashtham also simply refers to Kala. Murti Nityartha, the form. The word Kashtham refers to Paramatma, the expansion of Vishnu. Amsha Kala. Kala is the expansion of the expansion. Bhagavataha refers to Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of God. Supreme Godhead is Krishna. From him comes the first expansion, Baladev. And from Baladev comes Sankarsana, Aniruddha, and many other forms, followed by the Purusha avatars. As mentioned in the previous verses, Purusharchanam, this Purusha is represented as the Paramatma or the Super Soul. A description of the Super Soul upon whom one must meditate will be given in the following verses. In this verse, it is clearly stated that one must meditate by fixing the vision on the tip of the nose and concentrating one's mind on the Kala or the plenary expansion of Vishnu. The reason why Jiva Goswami and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur provide this additional meaning of Kashtham as the ultimate feature is to show that this is the ultimate feature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. The ultimate feature of the Supreme Absolute Truth is the one who should be meditated upon. It's not the impersonal Brahman that is the ultimate feature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. 13. Prasanna Vadanam Bhojam Padma Garbharunekshanam Neelotpaladarashyam Shankachakra Gadadharam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has a cheerful, lotus-like countenance, appearance, with ruddy eyes like the interior of a lotus, and a swarthy body like the petals of a blue lotus. He bears a conch, discus, and mace in 3 of his hands. In Saraswati Thakur's edition, text 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, they are one cluster. Sarartha Darshini. Navanga Bhaktau api yam tritiyamahur mahantaha purushartha saram dhyanam hare saptamatam agad. What is saptamatam? Oh, okay. Saptamatam agad. Tad ashtanga yogotra cha moksha siddhyai. Very interesting statement. He's saying that even in Navavidha Bhakti, the third item has been described by great souls. as the essence of all the Purusharthas. That is actually meditation on Lord Hari. And in Ashtanga Yoga, it is the 7th step. So the Ashtanga Yoga here is presented in order to attain the perfection of liberation. Prasankato bhaktanam yoginam cha dhyayam swarupam aha. And in this context, he describes the nature of the object of meditation of the bhaktas and the yogis. Prasanneti. In the text beginning, text 13. Shanketi atra chaturtham padmam api drashtavyam. In Shankachakra Gadadharam, he bears a conch, discus, and mace in 3 of his hands. It is understood that the 4th item, lotus, he also bears it. In another hand, Bhrajat Kaustubhena. Where is that? Bhrajat Kaustubhena. Okay. That will come. So it is continuing. 13 to 18 is it's been commented here. It is definitely recommended herein that one concentrate his mind upon the form of Vishnu. There are 12 different forms of Vishnu which are described in teachings of Lord Chaitanya. One cannot concentrate his mind on anything void or impersonal. The mind should be fixed on the personal form of the Lord, whose attitude is cheerful, as described in this verse. Bhagavad Gita states that meditation on the impersonal or void features is very troublesome to the meditator. Those, where does he say that? 12th chapter. Those who are attached to the impersonal or void features of meditation have to undergo a difficult process because we are not accustomed to concentrating our minds upon anything impersonal. Actually, such concentration is not even possible, meaning continuous concentration. Bhagavad Gita also confirms that one should concentrate his mind on the personality of God. Also, strictly speaking, you cannot concentrate on anything impersonal because anything that is impersonal is the negative of some material conception. Suppose I'm told that you should meditate on the Supreme Brahman, who is impersonal, who is not this, not this, not this, not this, not this. So I will first of all think about this, and then try to think about the opposite of that. So it is anyway just another form of material meditation. The color of the personality of Godhead Krishna is described here as Nilotpaladala, meaning that it is like that of a lotus flower with petals tinted blue and white. People always ask why Krishna is blue. The color of the Lord has not been imagined by an artist. It is described in authoritative scripture. In the Brahma Samhita also, the color of Krishna's body is compared to that of a bluish cloud. The color of the Lord is not poetical imagination. There are authoritative descriptions in the Brahma Samhita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and many of the Puranas of the Lord's body, his weapons, and all other paraphernalia. The Lord's appearance is described here as Padma Garbharune Kshanam. His eyes resemble the inside of a lotus flower, and his 4 hands hold the 4 symbols: conch shell, disc, mace, and lotus. 14. Lasat Pankajakinjalka, Pita Kausheya Vasasam, Srivatsa Vakshasam Bhrajat Kausubha Mukta Kadharam. His loins are covered by a shining cloth, yellowish like the filaments of a lotus. On his breast, he bears the mark of Srivatsa, a curl of white hair. The brilliant Kaustuba gem is suspended from his neck. Bhrajat Kaustubhena Tadiya Swarna Sutrena Amukta Pratibadha Ruttha Gandhara Griva Yasyattam. He has a golden necklace with the Kaustuba on it. Around his neck. Mattana, what is this? Kaustuba on his neck. It's suspended from his neck. What is this? Vattana Virepana. Is that the next verse? Yes. The exact color of the garment of the Supreme Lord is described as saffron yellow, just like the pollen of a lotus flower. The Kaustubha gem hanging on his chest is also described. His neck is beautifully decorated with jewels and pearls. The Lord is full in 6 opulences, one of which is wealth. He is very richly dressed with valuable jewels, which are not visible within this material world. Yes.
So why it is mentioned here that on his breast he bears a mark of Srivasta? I also noticed it there in Lord Varaha's translation. It writes breast. Is a
Yes, breast
Purusha?
is the chest. Vakshasam, chest. In Sanskrit, vakshas means chest. Chest, breast, same.
Generally, it uses for female, right?
No, it's not like. In anatomy, it's not like. Not always like. The breasts of a woman are developed because they have to feed children. Therefore, it's the arrangement of material nature for them. It is just a general expression in English also. At least in Old English, it was used. Okay. Then 15. Mattadvirepa kalaya paritam vanamalaya parardhyahara valaya kiritangada nupuram. He also wears around his neck a garland of attractive sylvan flowers. In a swarm of bees intoxicated by its delicious fragrance hums about the garland. It is further superbly adorned with a pearl necklace, a crown, and pairs of armlets, bracelets, and anklets. Mattanam, Rephanam, Kalaha, Madhuraha, Dhvanihi, Yasyam, Taya. Okay, that is already there in the translation. Parardhyam, Parardhamulya Kiritam. Okay. Parardhya means priceless. No, Parardhamulya Kritam. Okay. Mulya Kritam. It's priceless. Right. Kanchi Sutrena Ullasanti Shronihi Katihi Asyattam. It is not yet here. From this description, it appears that the flower garland of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is fresh. Actually, in Vaikuntha or the spiritual sky, there is nothing but freshness. Even the flowers picked from the trees and plants remain fresh, for everything in the spiritual sky retains its originality and does not fade. The fragrance of the flowers picked from the trees and made into garlands does not fade. For both the trees and the flowers are spiritual. When the flower is taken from the tree, it remains the same. It does not lose its aroma. The bees are equally attracted to the flowers, whether they are on the garland or on the trees. The significance of spirituality is that everything is eternal and inexhaustible. Everything taken from everything remains everything, or as has been stated in the spiritual world, 1 minus 1 equals 1 and 1 plus 1 equals 1. The bees hum around the fresh flowers and their sweet sound is enjoyed by the Lord. The Lord's bangles, necklace, crown, and anklets are all bedecked with invaluable jewels. Since the jewels and pearls are spiritual, there is no material calculation of their value. 16. Kanchi gunollasachronim hridayam bhoja vistaram darshaniyatamam shantam mano nayanavardhanam. His loins and hips encircled by a girdle, he stands on the lotus of his devotee's heart. He is most charming to look at, and his serene aspect gladdens the eyes and souls of the devotees who behold him. Kanchi Sutreda Ullasanti Shronihi Kadihi Asyattam. Bhaktanam Hridayam Bhojam Eva Vishtam Asanam Yasyattam. He He stands on the lotus of his devotee's heart. Shastram Anugraham. What is Shastram? Must be Shantam. 1 minute. Shantam Anugraham. Shantam Anugraham. He's serene, not fierce. Apivyam, Ati Sundaram. Apivyam is not here. Here. The word Darshaniyatama, which is used in this verse, means that the Lord is so beautiful that the devotee yogi does not wish to see anything else. His desire to see beautiful objects is completely satisfied by the sight of the Lord. In the material world, we want to see beauty, but the desire is never satisfied. Because of material contamination, all the propensities we feel in the material world are ever unsatisfied. But when our desires to see, hear, touch, etc. dovetail for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are on the level of the topmost perfection. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead in its eternal form is so beautiful and pleasing to the heart of the devotee, it does not attract the impersonalists who want to meditate on its impersonal aspect. Such impersonal meditation is simply fruitless labor. The actual yogis, with half-closed eyes, fix on the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not upon anything void or impersonal. 17. Apicya darshanam, shashvat, sarvaloka namaskritam, santam vayasi kaishore, bhrityanugraha kataram. The Lord is eternally very beautiful and he is worshipable by all the inhabitants of every planet. He is ever youthful and always eager to bestow his blessings upon his devotees. Apivyam, Ati Sundara, Kaishore, Panchadasha Varshe Vayasi Nityasthitam. Is eternally situated in the age at the age of 15. Kirtanarham that is next verse. Question.
So it is explained in the previous sloka purport. Yogis with half closed eyes fixes on the Supreme Personal Godhead. So for devotee, generally when we chant, how we should chant? With closed eyes, open eyes. I heard somewhere Bhakti Thakur says that we have to cover some cloth and we have to meditate so that our senses may not get distracted, something like that.
That is one option. Another option is to see the deity while chanting. He also gives that option.
But when we see DT, we don't have that kind of uh, what I say feelings or emotions, something We see some DT, but still we don't feel. Generally, we don't have DT. We have photos, for example. In our
We
place,
have.
we don't keep DT, so.
That's okay. Photo of the deity is also a deity. It's okay. The form of the Lord.
To
So what
half
is the
closed,
problem? Yeah.
some devotees also tell that we can also chant while with half closed eyes, meditating on nose.
No, but that either you follow Ashtanga Yoga or you follow Bhakti Yoga. One of the two you follow.
Okay.
Otherwise, the effect will not come. That's all. If you're not interested in the effect, I don't know what you're doing anyway, in either of them. Okay. The word.
Keeping the cloth. So, is it also recommended for neophytes, or is it for when someone advances? That time we have to do or something.
See, first of all, you have to be in a place where, see, that closing the with the cloth means that you cannot even close your eyes. Actually, it's not just eyes. Eyes and ears also have to be closed. That is all meant for those who are, first of all, you should sit and chant. If you want to follow that process, you can only sit. You cannot walk and chant and all that. If you are going to follow that process taught by Bhakti-vaibhava, you have to sit down, first of all. Without a break, you have to sit and chant. Without falling asleep, without opening your eyes. If you cannot, then you can cover with a cloth. Otherwise, you can gaze at a deity form.
Aditya
Any process,
Tulsi
you have to
Marani,
follow
right?
the process properly. If you're going to follow that process means, then you have to follow that process. And in that process, then there are different offenses which I described. You have to avoid all of that. Then you have to increase your chanting. When you're not chanting, then you have to be engaged in the other 63 items of Bhakti Yoga. You cannot engage in any sinful activity or offenses. So many things. It's a complete process.
Yes, Prabhu.
The word Sarvalokam Namaskritam means that he is worshipable by everyone on every planet. There are innumerable planets in the material world and innumerable planets in the spiritual world as well. On each planet, there are innumerable inhabitants who worship the Lord, for the Lord is worshipable by all but the impersonals. Okay, 1 minute, wait. I'll blow up my nose. Oh, no. Okay. The Supreme Lord is very beautiful. The word Shashwat is significant. Shashwat. Shashwat means eternal. Look at this. Shashwat, eternal. Apichya darshanam Shashwat is eternally very beautiful to see. The Lord is eternally very beautiful. The word Shashwat is significant. It is not that he appears beautiful to the devotees, but is ultimately impersonal. Shashwat means ever existing. That beauty is not temporary, it is ever existing. He is always youthful. In the Brahma Samhita 5.33, it is also stated, Advaitam Achyutam Anadhim Anantarupam Adhyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Sha. He is one without a second. And although he is the original person, he never appears old. He always appears as an ever fresh, blooming youth. The Lord's facial expression always indicates that he is ready to show favor and benediction to the devotees. For the non-devotees, however, he is silent. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, although he acts equally to everyone because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and because all living entities are his sons, he is especially inclined to those engaged in devotion service. The same fact is confirmed here. He is always anxious to show favor to the devotees. Just as the devotees are always eager to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is also very eager to bestow benediction upon the pure devotees. See, this is the reciprocation of service and benediction. 18. Kirtanya Tirtha Yashasam Punya Shloka Yashaskaram Dhyaye Devam Samagrangam Yavan Chavate Manaha. The glory of the Lord is always worth singing, for his glories enhance the glories of his devotees. One should therefore meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead and upon his devotees. One should meditate on the eternal form of the Lord until the mind becomes fixed. Kirtanarham tirtharupam cha yashaha yasyattam. His very glory is like a holy place. It is worthy of being sung. It is worth singing. One has to fix his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. When one is accustomed to thinking of one of the innumerable forms of the Lord, Krishna, Vishnu, Rama, Narayana, etc., he has reached the perfection of yoga. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. A person who has developed pure love for the Lord and whose eyes are smeared with the ornament of transcendental loving exchange always sees within his heart the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The devotees especially see the Lord in the beautiful blackish form of Shyamsundar. That is the perfection of yoga. This yoga system should be continued until the mind does not vacillate for a moment. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surayaha. The form of Vishnu is the highest individuality and always visible to sages and saintly persons. The same purpose is served when a devotee worships the form of the Lord in the temple. That's not different between devotional service in the temple and meditation on the form of the Lord, since the form of the Lord is the same whether he appears within the mind or in some concrete element. There are 8 kinds of forms recommended for the devotees to see. That means recommended for the devotees' meditation. This list is found in the 11th canto. The forms may be made out of sand, clay, wood, or stone. They may be contemplated within the mind or made of jewels, metal, or painted colors. But all the forms are of the same value. It is not that one who meditates on the form within the mind sees differently from one who worships the form in the temple. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is absolute, and therefore there is no difference between the two. The impulseless who desire to disregard the eternal form of the Lord imagine some round figure. They especially prefer the Omkara, which also has form. Omkara is also visualized in Devanagari. And the letter represented in Devanagari also has a form. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that Omkara is the letter form of the Lord. Similarly, there are statue forms and painting forms of the Lord. Another significant word in this verse is Punya Shloka Yashaskaram. The devotee is called Punya Shloka. Look at this. Punya Shloka Yashaskaram. His glories enhance the glories of his devotees. He enhances the glory of his devotees. As one becomes purified by chanting the holy name of the Lord, so one can become purified simply by chanting the holy name of a holy devotee. The pure devotee of the Lord and the Lord himself are non-different. Non-different means inseparable in this context. It is sometimes feasible to chant the name of a holy devotee. This is a very sanctified process. Lord Chaitanya was once chanting the holy names of the gopis when the students criticized him. Why are you chanting the names of the gopis? Why not Krishna? Lord Chaitanya was irritated by the criticism, and so there was some misunderstanding between him and his students. He wanted to chastise them for desiring to instruct him on the transcendental process of chanting. The beauty of the Lord is that the devotees who are connected with his activities are also glorified. Arjuna, Prahlad, Janaka Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, and many other devotees were not even in the renounced order of life, but were householders. Some of them, such as Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, were born of demoniac families. Prahlad Maharaj's father was a demon. And Bali Maharaj was the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, but still, they have become famous because of their association with the Lord. Anyone who is eternally associated with the Lord is glorified with the Lord. The conclusion is that a perfect yogi should always be accustomed to seeing the form of the Lord, and unless the mind is fixed in that way, he should continue practicing yoga. Okay, let me go clean up once again. Nineteen. Sitam Vrjantamaseenam Chayanam Vaguhashayam Prekshaniye Hitam Dhyaye Shuddha Bhave Chetasa. This always merged in devotion service. The Lord visualizes the Lord standing, moving, lying down, or sitting within him. For the pastimes of the Lord are always beautiful and attractive. Prasangatas Tantrena Raganugiya Bhaktanamapi Dhyeyam Lilam Aha. And in this context, indirectly, he also talks about the pastimes which are to be meditated upon by even the devotees who are spontaneously attracted to him in Raga Marga. Sitam Vaikunthe Vrindavaniya Kalpataru Mule Cha. Standing in Vaikuntha or standing under the Kalpataru in Vrindavan. Vrajantam, moving. Vaikunthat, Ghoshtacha, Manaya. Moving about from Vaikuntha. For those in Aishwarya Marga, that meditation is there. Then moving from Goshtha. How do you explain Goshtha in English? The residential quarters in Vraja to the forest. Asinam. Ratrasimhasane Govardhana Shringecha. Sitting on a jeweled Simhasana in Vaikuntha or on the peak of Govardhana. Shayanam, Sheshaparyanke, Govardhana Guhayamcha. Sleeping on Ananta Shesha, who is the bedstead of the Lord in Vaikuntha. Or sleeping inside a cave in Govardhana. Shuddha Bhavam, Shuddhena Chetasa. Shuddha Bhavam Chetas, Tada, Tena, Prakshaniyam. Jalarandhrat Bhakisthitvaiva Drashtumartham Ihitam Krida Cheshtitam Yes Yat Tat. What is that? What is that? Anyway, this refers to a certain type of meditation of the Lord's pastimes in Vraja. Okay. Purport. The process of meditating on the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within oneself and the process of chanting the glories and pastimes of the Lord are the same. The only difference is that hearing and fixing the mind on the pastimes of the Lord is easier than visualizing the form of the Lord within one's heart. Because as soon as one begins to think of the Lord, especially in this age, the mind becomes disturbed. And due to so much agitation, the process of seeing the Lord within the mind is interrupted. When there is sound vibrated praising the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, however, one is forced to hear. That hearing process enters into the mind, and the practice of yoga is automatically performed. For example, even a child can hear and derive the benefit of meditating on the pastimes of the Lord simply by listening to a reading from the Bhagavatam that describes the Lord as he is going to the pasturing ground with his cows and friends. Hearing includes applying the mind. In this age of Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya has recommended that one should always engage in chanting and hearing Bhagavad Gita. The Lord also says that the Mahatmas or great souls always engage in the process of chanting the glories of the Lord. And just by hearing, others derive the same benefit. Yoga necessitates meditation on the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, whether he is standing, moving, lying down, etc. That is why Prabhupada recommended reading Krishna book at night before going to sleep. One time he said that is the fifth regulative principle. 20. Tasmallabdha padam chittam sarvavayava samsthitam vilakshyaikatra samyujyad ange bhagavato munihi. In fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of all his limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord. Samagra dhyanam uktva eka avayava dhyanaha. Having described meditation on the collective view, having described collective meditation, that means meditation on the form of the Lord fully, now meditation on particular parts of the transcendental body of the Lord is described. Okay, 1 minute, again I have to blow out my nose. Got a very severe cold. He knows what. No, don't touch it. You can put in the other cup. Like that is 2-3 in a cup, whatever is my tea cup. Okay. Tasmin Bhagavad Vigrahe. Tasmin means on the form of the Lord. In fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord. The word Muni is very significant. See here, it is recommended that the yogi do this kind of meditation. The yogi is referred to here as a Muni, a sage. The word Muni is very significant. Muni means one who is very expert in mental speculation or in thinking, feeling, and will. He is not mentioned here as a devotee or a yogi. Those who try to meditate on the form of the Lord are called Munis or less intelligent, whereas those who render actual service to the Lord are called Bhakti yogis. The thought process described below is for the education of the Muni in order to convince the yogi that the absolute truth or the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never impersonal at any time. The following verses prescribe observing the Lord in his personal form, limb after limb. To think of the Lord as a whole may sometimes be impersonal. Therefore, it is recommended here that one First think of his lotus feet, then his ankles, then the thighs, then the waist, then the chest, then the neck, then the face, and so on. One should begin from the lotus feet and gradually rise to the upper limbs of the transcendental body of the Lord. See, in Shanta Rasa, there is much meditation, but from Dasya up, there is active service. That should also be remembered. 21. Sanchintayed Bhagavatascharanarvindam Vajrankushadhvaja Saroruhalanchanadyam Uttungaraktavilasannaka Chakravala Jyotsnabhirahata Mahadhridayandhakaram. The devotee should first concentrate his mind on the Lord's lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of a thunderbolt, a gourd, a banner, and a lotus. The splendor of their beautiful ruby nails resembles the orb of the moon and dispels the thick gloom of one's heart. Padadi Kramena Eka Eka Avayava Dhyanamaha. So now meditation on each part of the transcendental body of the Supreme Lord, beginning with his lotus feet, is being described. Vajra iti Dakshina Charana Taladhyanam Vajrankushadhvaja Saroruhat Lanchanadhyam. That is his right, it is the sole of his right foot. तस्यैव कल्पतरुमूले तिष्ठतः त्रिभङ्गललितस्य कृष्णस्य भक्ते दृश्यत्वात् तस्य दक्षिणचरणस्य कनिष्ठा तले अंकुशं ध्यायेत्. अंकुशतले वज्रम, अनामिकातले सरोरुहं, सरोरुहतले ध्वजम्, एवं अंगुष्ठतले यवच्चक्रादिकं ज्ञेयम्. एतैर् लाक्षणैः चिह्नैः आढ्यम्. The devotees of Lord Krishna, they recognize. So fast. Okay. Instant. Okay, great. Thank you. See here, Chakravarti Thakur notes that Ankusham, a gourd or a rod for driving elephants, that is marked below his small toe. Similarly, below the other toes, one finds a Vajra, a thunderbolt, Saroruha, lotus, and below that Saroruha, there is a Dhvaja. Dhvaja is a flag, a banner. These descriptions are there in scripture on Krishna's, the soles of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Similarly, there are also sign of barley and chakra. These things are also found. There are also others. So his lotus feet is enriched with these marks. Darkness here. It dispels the darkness of the heart, the thick darkness of the heart. It dispels the thick gloom of one's heart. This darkness or gloom refers to sinful reactions. The Mayavadi says that one is unable to fix his mind on the impersonal existence of the absolute truth. The Mayavadi says that because one is unable to fix his mind on the impersonal existence of the absolute truth, one can imagine any form he likes and fix his mind on that imaginary form. But such a process is not recommended here. Imagination is always imagination and results only in further imagination. A concrete description of the eternal form of the Lord is given here. The Lord's soul is depicted with distinctive lines resembling a thunderbolt, a flag, a lotus flower, and a gourd. The luster of his toenails, which are brilliantly prominent, resembles the light of the moon. If a yogi looks upon the marks of the Lord's soul and on the blazing brilliance of his nails, then he can be freed from the darkness of ignorance in material existence. This liberation is not achieved by mental speculation, but by seeing the light emanating from the lustrous toenails of the Lord. In other words, one has to fix his mind first on the lotus feet of the Lord if he wants to be freed from the darkness of ignorance in material existence. 22. यच्छौच निःसृत सरित प्रवरोदकेन तीर्थेन मूर्ध्नि अधिकृतेन शिवः शिवोऽभूत् ध्यातुर्मनश्शमलशैल निःसृष्टवज्रं ध्यायेत् चिरं भगवतश्चरणारविन्दम्. The blessed Lord Shiva becomes all the more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of the Ganges, which has its source in the water that washed the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts, hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time. Sharanarvindasya madhuryam uktva aishwaryamaha. Having stated the sweetness of the lotus feet of the Lord, he now describes its aishwarya, its opulence. Yasya shauchena kshalanena. By washing the Lord's lotus feet. Nisrata sarit pravara Ganga. Ganga, the best of the rivers, has come out. Tasya udakena murdhni adhikyena kritena. Yadva murdhni dhartum adhikritena. Praptena Shivaha. So then Lord Shiva, he holds that water on his head with great respect. It also indicates that Lord Shiva was eligible to hold that water on his head. Shivopi Shivaha Bhut. Then Shiva also became Shiva. Shiva means auspicious. So Lord Shiva became auspicious. Adya eva aham Shivaha abhuvam iti abhimanyate sma. It means that Lord Shiva thought, today only I have become actually auspicious, which is the meaning of my name. Dhyatuhu janasya manas shamalani ragadvesha adini teshu eva shaileshu nisrishtam swalanchana rupam vajram yenam tat. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. The mountain of sin refers to attractions, repulsions, and so on. Evameva macharnarvindam dhyatuhu bhaktasya manohastina swavartmanyanetum ankusham dhate. In the same manner, for my devotee who is meditating on my lotus feet, it acts like a goad. A goad is that with which one drives elephant. So the mind of that meditating devotee can also be compared to such an elephant. And in order to bring that elephant of the mind of the devotee in the right track, the lotus feet itself acts like a goad. Mana sarasim alankartum kamalam. Similarly, that lotus feet itself acts like a kamala, a lotus, to decorate the lake of the mind of the meditating. Manase sarvotkarsha samrajyam datum dhvajam. Similarly, that lotus feet itself acts like a dhvaja, a flag of victory, in order to make that mind the most exalted sovereignty or kingdom of pure devotion service to him. That is implied. Sarvotkrishta yashodatum yavam. It acts like a yava, like a barley, in order to give the most exalted form of fame. Trividha tapa upashamanaya chhatram. to protect that devotee from the three types of miseries, threefold miseries. That lotus feet itself acts like an umbrella. This umbrella, these are all different signs. The Lord's lotus feet. Sarvato Rakshanartham Chakradikam api dhatte. And he also provides chakra and so on in order to protect that devotee in every manner. This should be understood. In this verse, the position of Lord Shiva is specifically mentioned. The implicitly suggests that the absolute truth has no form and that one can therefore equally imagine the form of Vishnu or Lord Shiva or the goddess Durga or their son Ganesha. But actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Master of everyone. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 5.142, it is said, Ekale Ishwar Krishna, our Sabhritya. The Supreme Lord is Krishna. And everyone else, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, not to mention other demigods, is a servant of Krishna. The same principle is described here. Lord Shiva is important because he is holding on his head the holy Ganges water, which has its origin in the foot wash of Lord Vishnu. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami, it is said that anyone who puts the Supreme Lord and the demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, on the same level at once becomes a Pashandiya or atheist. We should never consider that the Supreme Lord Vishnu and the demigods are on an equal footing. Another significant point of this verse is that the mind of the conditioned soul, on account of its association with the material energy from time immemorial, contains heaps of dirt in the form of desires to lord it over material nature. This dirt is like a mountain, but a mountain can be shattered when hit by a thunderbolt. Meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord acts like a thunderbolt on the mountain of dirt in the mind of a yogi. If a yogi wants to shatter the mountain of dirt in his mind, he should concentrate on the lotus feet of the Lord and not imagine something void or impersonal. Because the dirt has accumulated like a solid mountain, one must meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for quite a long time. For one who is accustomed to thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord constantly, however, it is a different matter. The devotees are so fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord that they do not think of anything else. Those who practice the yoga system must meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time after following the regulative principles and thereby controlling the senses. It is specifically mentioned here, Bhagavatas Charanarvindam. One has to think of the lotus feet of the Lord, of Bhagavan. The Mayavadis imagine that one can think of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma or the goddess Durga to achieve liberation, but this is not so. That will not work. Bhagavataha is specifically mentioned. Bhagavataha means of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, no one else. Another significant phrase in this verse is Shivaha Shivobhut. By his constitutional position, Lord Shiva is always great and auspicious. But since he has accepted on his head the Ganges water which emanated from the lotus feet of the Lord, he has become even more auspicious and important. The stress is on the lotus feet of the Lord. A relationship with the lotus feet of the Lord can even enhance the importance of Lord Shiva. What to speak of other ordinary living entities? 23. Janudvayam jala jalochanaya jananya lakshmyakhilesya suravanditaya vidhatu urvor nidhaya karapallavarochishya yad samlalitam hridhi vibhorabhavasya kuryat. The yogi should fix in his heart the activities of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by all demigods and is the mother of the Supreme Person, Brahma. She can always be found massaging the legs and thighs of the Transcendental Lord, very carefully serving him in this way. Shayanam Dhyayed Ityukta. It was said that one should meditate on the Lord lying down and sleeping. अतः शेषपर्यन्ते शयानस्य विभोः जानद्वयं तत्पर्यन्तं जङ्घाद्वयं हृदि कुर्यात्. Therefore, in the heart, one should meditate on the Lord, there is this Janudvaya, up to the knees. Is lying down on the bedstead of Anantashesha. So one should meditate on the Lord's legs up to the knees. Within one's heart. Yat khalu akhilasya dhatuhu brahmanaha jananya lakshmiya samvahana chaturya vatohu karapallavayohu rochisha arunimna pitimna che samlalitam shobhiti kritam. They are being massaged. One should meditate that they are being massaged by Mother Lakshmi, by Lakshmi, who is the mother of the creator of all. The creator of all is Brahma. Brahma's mother is Lakshmi. So Lakshmi Devi, she massages with expertise, using her lustrous fingers. They are shining red and yellow. So her massaging the legs and thighs of the Lord itself beautifies him. Jalaja lochanaya iti tal lochanabhyam nirbadham eva aswadita lavanya iti arthata. So she herself is lotus-eyed. So in that way, this charm is without any obstruction relished by her lotus eyes. Idameva jankhayoho janunoscha madhuryam aishwaryam cha evam agre bige. So the sweetness and opulence of his knees and his thighs are brought out here. Similarly, they should be inferred in later descriptions also. Abhavasya navidyate bhavaha yasmat tasya. And the Supreme Lord has been described here with the word abhavasya, which indicates that he has no birth. He has no material experience also. He is not caught up in samsara. Brahma is the appointed Lord of the universe. Because his father is Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is automatically his mother. Lakshmi ji is worshipped by all demigods and by the inhabitants of other planets as well. Human beings are also eager to receive favor from the goddess of fortune. Lakshmi is always engaged in massaging the legs and thighs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, who is lying on the ocean of Garbha within the universe. Brahma is described here as the son of the goddess of fortune, but actually was not born of her womb. Brahma takes his birth from the abdomen of the Lord himself. A lotus flower grows from the abdomen of Garbhodakshai Vishnu and Brahma is born there. Therefore, Lakshmiji's massaging of the thighs of the Lord should not be taken as the behavior of an ordinary wife. The Lord is transcendental to the behavior of the ordinary male and female. The word abhavasya is very significant, for it indicates that he could produce Brahma without the assistance of the goddess of fortune. He is entirely transcendental. Since transcendental behavior is different from mundane behavior, it should not be taken that the Lord receives service from his wife just as a demigod or human being might receive service from his wife. It is advised here that the yogi always keep this picture in his heart. The devotee always thinks of this relationship between Lakshmi and Narayan. Therefore, he does not meditate on the mental plane as impersonalists and voidists do. Bhava means one who accepts a material body, and abhava means one who does not accept a material body but descends in the original spiritual body. So abhavasya indicates that Lord Narayana, he does not accept a material body, but he descends in his original spiritual body. Lord Narayana is not born of anything material. Matter is generated from matter, but he is not born of matter. Brahma is born after the creation. But since the Lord existed before the creation, the Lord has no material body. Question.
So,
I am unable to understand on what this yogi is advised to meditate, because Prabhupada is saying that it is transcendental behavior, not like between ordinary husband and wife. So it is not like that, but what it is like, I am unable to figure out.
It is like himself, that's all. He is unique. It is not like anything material. So that they know from the scriptures. Because before one comes to yoga, one should have been in jnana. So there he would have studied. So he knows.
So Lord is receiving service from his wife is not like a demigod human receiving service. So this much is okay, but its counterpart is not clear to me. If it is not like this, how it is like Lord receiving service from him?
That's all. Lord Narayana is receiving service from Lakshmi. It has no counterpart within material existence. It is unique. I don't understand what is the problem for those who are expected to know all these things. I think that in general, our people are not understanding of how these things are normally executed. We are all just some crash course we are brought in, but there is normal education. There is normal education. Normal education means, first of all, one is trained in. First of all, one is kept in an ashram, let us say. Okay. Even today, let us say today, you look at this Tattvavadi group and all that. The process itself spans several lifetimes and they know all these things very well. So let's say somebody is a Brahmin boy, then he's trained in various aspects, how to eat, how to sleep, everything, and hundreds of rules are there. Then they're trained to follow all of these things. In the middle of all these things, they're trained in the Vedangas. They're trained in recitation of certain Vedic mantras which glorify the Lord. They're trained in various important verses like Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu, Sahasranama, and so on. Then, after some amount of study of Vyakarana and Nyaya, then they are trained in Pramana Vichar. They're trained in epistemology. Then afterwards, then they study other branches of Vedic knowledge, culminating in Vedanta Darshan. So when it comes to Vedanta Darshan, they study thoroughly, and then they study also how the other philosophies are wrong. Then they study various other literature like Bhagavatam, for instance, describing the Lord's pastimes. So then they're brought through, and all of this goes for several years, and sometimes it goes for 2 or 3 decades also. In the meanwhile, they may get married, and those who have developed in vairagya at a certain age, they may want to become a sannyasi. Then they study even further, they teach, and in the meanwhile they enter into the process of chanting various Vishnu mantras. Then they will engage in various forms of meditation. So because all of this has a very powerful background in theoretical knowledge and understanding, so they don't have questions of this kind, because that is the very life. The very life is chopped up. Prabhupada also, if you carefully examine, he has given a complete life for us. What things should be done, what should not be done. It is meant to be airtight. A life of sadhana is an airtight life. So we cannot leave anything, we cannot leave even one space, little space you give itself means the mind will go into that. So if we execute Bhakti Yoga in that airtight manner, then naturally the mind will become disciplined. So they'll not have these kind of confusion. What is the relationship between Lakshmi and Narayana like? It is unlike anything in material existence. She is the wife of Narayana. Narayana is a husband of her. But at no point in time were they ever married prior to which they were not husband and wife. Where do you find an example of this in material world? Nowhere you will find it. So it is unique. That we understand from Shastra. So these yogis, they would have studied all these things much before. Therefore, they will not be confused about all these things. Because these are all things which have to be executed. These studies, everything should be done before you enter into full-fledged meditation. So therefore, they don't have all these issues. Okay. Next session, we'll continue. Anshakalpatarvyasya Kripasantabhyo Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.